Merry Christmas, y'all. It's Funcle Ken here, and today we're going to be making some eggnog. Stay tuned. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to separate out 6 eggs. We're going to separate the egg yolks from the egg whites. Just in case anybody's asking or want to know, these are going to be large eggs as well. So the main thing is when you're separating them out, make sure that none of the yolks get into the whites. So if for some reason you have an egg yolk break or whatever, put it to the side because this will not work. And I recommend that you crack them over a bowl, a small bowl, and then pour it into your big mixing bowl. There we go, the egg yolks are separated. Now when I said throw the egg away, I meant the egg white. You can keep the egg yolk, that part doesn't matter. But the egg whites cannot have any type of oils or anything of that nature, otherwise they won't whip up when we do the process trying to beat them into peaks. So that's the reason why you've got to be very careful with this. The egg yolks are very forgiving, egg whites not so much. With egg whites, it's better to whip them in a metal bowl rather than a plastic bowl, but I don't have a metal bowl. If you have copper, that's even better because that will help keep you from over whipping. To this, we're going to now add some sugar. I'm going to do 3/4 cup sugar. There we go. Alrighty, so I just took a whisk and whisked this up for about a minute or so. Now I'm going to add just a little bit, I'm talking about a pinch of sea salt. That right there is not even 1/8 of a teaspoon, that's like maybe a 1/16 of a teaspoon, something like that, of sea salt. The reason why you do that is that salt will help bring the other flavors to the foreground. Now we add this in, and we whisk. Alright guys, so you'll notice I got my immersion blender ready, and this right here is just a capful of apple cider vinegar. This is totally optional, so not even a 1/2 tablespoon, but you can also use cream of tartar, whatever you like, but that's just, and this is only optional, is just something to get the egg whites to stiffen up better and faster. Now, you notice this sitting very firm. Part of the reason why is that it's a plastic bowl. If I was doing something like a meringue or something other, this is not what I want, but for this, it'll be fine. Now we'll add in just a little bit of the egg mixture, the egg yolks into this, and we'll get all nice and frothy. Alright, now it's mostly liquid, but we got a lot of froth going. That's all we need, don't worry about it. I know this is different from a lot of recipes. That's fine, it'll all work out. To a cooking pot, I'm adding in 1 cup of whole milk. I'm now adding in a 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. I know this isn't something that you normally see, but trust me. This right here is a 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. And this right here is literally a pinch, so roughly about 1/32 of a teaspoon of ground clove, not much. Alright, we've got a low heat on here just to bring this up. We don't want this to reach a boil, we just need to get it nice and warm. I would say somewhere above 160, about 160 to 170 be ideal. I'm now adding in a teaspoon of vanilla extract into our egg mixture. Alright, we got 50 milliliters of Fireball. Now this says cinnamon whiskey. Don't let the labeling fool you. It is schnapps that's flavored with a little bit of whiskey to circumvent the U.S. laws on what you can call whiskey and what you can't call whiskey. This has 33%. If you don't see whiskey on the label, it is a malt beverage. It's a malt liquor, and it's not the same thing as this, so get the one that says cinnamon whiskey on the label. Alright, you always want to make sure that you have this going with your immersion blender when you pour in your alcohol, because alcohol can denature the proteins in the egg very easily, and we don't want to have scrambled eggs. Alright, this right here is a 1/2 cup of brandy. Now with most recipes, after you mix this in, you could add in the milk with the spices, bottle it, and that's that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up my milk, or I'm heating up my milk now, and we're adding the milk into this. And that will actually raise temperature up to a point that'll be safe to drink. If you wanted to do this without cooking, I would go up to about a cup or a cup and a half of brandy, and then I would bottle it up and let it sit for at least a month. But we're not doing that. We're doing the cooked method, so we don't have to worry about having to let it sit and age to be safe to drink. This will be safe to drink immediately. I've just been letting these spices steep into the milk, and man, is it smelling good as it comes to temp. Now, as I said before, you can drink this immediately, but I'm going to actually let this sit a day or two. These spices have not given up their all, and they need time to meld. I find that if you let this sit a day or two, it'll only get better. So that's what I'll do. But if you needed to, or you wanted to, you could actually do this the morning of Christmas or Christmas Eve or whatever the event is, and just let it sit for a few hours to chill off, and it'd be absolutely fine to drink, but it'd be better the next day or day after. Alright, so we're now just a little over 180, not quite 190 degrees, and this is where we'll start tempering our eggs. What you want to do is take spoonfuls of the milk and just slowly add it into the eggs. Alright, so I've got this back into the pot, and I've got that pot actually floating on top of some water in a bigger pot to make a double boiler. If you had a metal bowl, I don't have a metal bowl, that would be perfect. You just put a metal bowl over the pot. But the reason for that is that this was not quite up to temp. I didn't want to scorch the milk, but in the process of not scorching the milk, it was not hot enough to bring up temperature of the eggs. The eggs were still cold. I normally leave them out on the counter a day ahead of time, but in this case I didn't, and I took them immediately out of the refrigerator, so they was really cold and couldn't handle the heat. Wouldn't transition over enough to where they was safe. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be slowly stirring this, then I'll hit it with the immersion blender at the very end. Once it hits an internal temperature of 160 degrees Fahrenheit, that is the safe temperature. That will cook out any and all bacteria that's unsafe, and then this will be a drinkable product. Something I wanted to bring up, don't bring this up over 165 degrees, because then the ethyl alcohol can boil off. So long as it stays below 170 degrees, the alcohol will not boil. Something else I also forgot to mention is that if you don't want to use the spices and you like spiced rum, omit the brandy and use spiced rum instead. I just don't like spiced rum, so I don't have any on hand. And yes, you could have done this in a double boiler to begin with, and that would have saved a lot of time and hassle, but I normally don't like to use in a double boiler unless I absolutely have to. You see how thick it is? Don't worry about that. We're going to now add in a half cup of heavy cream to this. Alright, now we'll just take and pour this into a jug and let it sit. Let's give this a try. Now this is thick. I love a thick eggnog. If you want it thinner, you could add milk. Like I said, you could do it with raw eggs, but you need to make it in advance, like a month or two in advance. That's the reason why this is a cooked product. So it's safe to drink, and you make it, the day before. It's got a perfect amount of alcohol for me. Now with the uncooked version, you would need to add more alcohol, and that's to kill the actual nasties in the egg, the raw egg, and keep things from growing. But with this, you don't have to do that, so you get a perfect amount of alcohol. Very pleasurable, very thick. It's got the thickness of a really, really good milkshake. The kind where can't hardly get it sucked through the straw. That's what I like. It's enough that you're not going to go crazy drinking, you know, 2 or 3 mugs of this, but after about 2 or 3 mugs, you need to kind of lay low on it. It does have a wallop. Remember, this only makes about a quart, so you know you need to adjust. But not everybody likes eggnog these days. I know a bunch of people that they don't care for it, but I've always liked eggnog. It's one of the things I grew up with. I love it. I love spiked eggnog especially. So if you like this kind of stuff, give this a shot. It's different from your typical eggnog recipe, and it has a great flavor. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. It really does help out the channel. And I will see y'all again next time. Bye.
A wandering love, oh, morning stars together, proclaim the holy word, and praises sing to God the King, and peace to man on earth, and praises sing to God the King, and peace